hi again. There's been a few changes, some additions, and I brought more and more features back from the previous version, so I thought a really quick video just to go through, not go through them, but kind of just show a few of them working. Could be interesting, and try to be as short as possible now. Compilation is as short as always. Let's start up everything again. Maybe I should have prepared it to save a few seconds, but who cares? It's so fast. Let's see. The new one is this one here. And the first thing you see is there's a bunch of printouts. That's not really. That's just me trying to do all this. What should I say? This extensions handling a little better. I also support more or less compatible things going on when an extension is promoted from draft to official. There's some name changing and some what should I say, issues with supporting. Should you support the draft version or the official version? So there's some stuff going on there, and I have tried to support most of it. That's not very visible, but it's important in the background. From the widget system itself, let's see, we have a short list here. That's a compact list of extensions. Let me see. The next stuff is to see this hint system here. Do you see this text changing all the time depending on where I have a mouse? That is part of the initial primitive hint system. Every widget has a hint, or actually it's just at the moment it's just a const char pointer. It's a pointer to a string. When I hover over a widget, same time as I check for which mouse cursor change and stuff, I also change this hint stuff. If it has some flags to auto send hint, and then it also sends an event upwards with this hint string pointer until it reaches the window, and then sent over to the actual recipient of the hint, which you can decide which widget receives hint messages, and then this widget takes care of everything. The moment the footer widget here is set as a recipient, so when the hint event reaches top, it's sent directly over to this footer, and the footer just replaces its own text. It's actually just a text widget, I think, but it has in specific handles all the callbacks and all these calls internally. But my idea is to later expand this. Instead of sending just a text string, you could send a pointer to an info struct instead, with more info about the current value of the widget, the name of it like it is printed here, and some other stuff, so we can make much more hint stuff like this bottom part here in Bitwig, which is actually was the inspiration. Let me see. If I now I'll add another. You see that the kind of writes down here what happens is you drag and control click and everything. That could be nice to have available. But to make it better looking like this one, I would need a few control codes or something in the text. Just like the printf stuff, I can have a percentage sign and a command. For example, B for bold, I for italic, U for underline, that kind of stuff. And even maybe point sizes for the text, for example, so I could parse the text a bit more and do different things here. Maybe even draw the icons and whatnot. But anyway, that's the hints. It's very early, but it's working, and that's nice to have it actually up and running, so we can start thinking about it and start feel the direction it should take. So hinting, next thing on my list of the 7 things here, I'll do 3 now, is the multiple parameters per widget. A widget has a value, of course, like the value you edit here, but it actually internally it has a bunch of values. It has an array of values, and it has an index or a pointer to which value is the relevant one or the real one or the one to actually edit. Usually this is point just to the first one, so you just edit the value 0 or the first 0 value, and you just use this for what in and outgoing values. But we can modify this kind of pointer to point to another index and modify this one instead, or we can set index and value directly, like set a fourth value to 5, for example. And we use this functionality here, for example, and here. These are the two widgets with multiple parameters. I have two parameters here, one for the left edge and one for the right edge. And they are completely separated, as you can see down here. If I change one of them, oh no, wait a minute. Where is it? No, it's not connected, so you don't see it actually. You see it more in this 8 and 9 here. This is parameter 8, is on the light side, and this is parameter 9. In the same widget. Still have to add in some things for what happens with the cross, because it's stupid to edit the left value and see the right parameter change, for example here. Now they're kind of inverted. What I want to do is to, as soon as I cross, you should just swap them around and then continue editing the other parameter instead. So if we continue dragging, then this edge here becomes the right parameter instead. So there's always a positive range in the middle there. And you can, when you cross it, you just gonna switch everything around and continue. That's one way. Another way is I want to push the other value to with it, kind of, so now you're kind of pushing both of them to the right. If you, for example, hold shift, for example, or control or something. And the third thing is just that it just stops. You can't have a negative range, depending on what you're using this for. So that's what I want to add. And also, of course, click here and move both of them at the same time. But that's additional things you can add. The current thing, having two values with one widget, is working nicely. Even if I update with one of them, this is drawn correctly. Updated. So that's a nice thing, new thing. One thing that is even more obvious is this animation stuff going on here. This so-called tweening going on. I have a widget. Actually, this system is going on all the time. We have a window, have a list of active twins. I call it twins, I call it animations, maybe it would be. And where it is in between and all that kind of stuff. So you can have multiple of them going on, and it's been driven by the timer, so it goes on automatically no matter what's happening. And the widget themselves starts and sets up this a chain of twins or animations or whatever, and just press go. And the system will kind of animate it for you and realign everything around it. And when it reaches the end, it will just get rid of it. So you don't have to think about it, just get started and forget it. So what I can do is just, for example, and before I go into that, just for testing, I just stuff that creation and starting of a chain of twin with two chains actually. First one that boing 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 bounces, and one that goes slowly back up again. To bounce for a second, I think, and then up for using 2 seconds afterwards. So it just should take 3 seconds all in all. And it automatically goes, but there's some issues I can go into it later. So I can start one for this one and maybe for this one, and I still could use the usual GUI is still working normally, for example, no matter what so that's kind of nice. So it's not blocking anything. And I can still, of course, edit the rest of the interface while this is animating as well. So that's a nice thing, and the idea is to kind of use it where it makes sense, like when I open and close this GUI box, when I'm going to add in double clicking on this sizer here to make it snap to the left, right edge, or even completely away, and then double click again to snap it back. In that case, it would be nice to have whoop, whoop, instead of just bam, being gone. So you kind of see it more that it disappearing, or there it disappears. Same thing is anything that changes size. And I'll show you one other thing afterwards, like colors, transparency, and would be also typical candidates. But things that usually go poof should be gradual instead. Same thing with colors fading, like making things more intense. For example, when I click it, I could fade something like the colors. They could be fade over bigger font, it could different stuff. At the moment I only have this sizing just for testing, and inside a button only with its side effects. Side effect being here, but another thing, this is also a button I use to open and close the group box. So the group box is the entire thing, but the button, since the twin stuff is put inside the click handler of the button directly without thinking, it also affects this button here, which is not very good. Now it closed it, but the button still animates. So if I open it, you see it more obviously. Boing, it does the same animation, and it goes back. This is not what should happen. Of course, there should be no auto-twinning in the button handle itself. It should be depending on the widget, and this group widget should actually automate just the height of its group, of its container here. So it could just instead. Other things you could do, if for example the things that are moving very rapidly could animate into place. Colors could fade back between two states. When I change pages here, it could crossfade. It could be set 2 pages or layers available, visible, and you could crossfade out the top one while the bottom one fades in, while still being active. So you can instead of being this, you can maybe something with activity. When I, for example, hover over a widget, the value could indicate that now we can edit it, and when you click, it could be drawn better with this twinning empty. Since it's completely independent, I can start it and forget about it. I can do a bunch of that kind of stuff. I say I all the time, but from now on maybe I should say we instead. We could add in a bunch of nice and looking fluidity and everything, but just getting it into place is a nice thing. And also this linear, this in twinning, every twin, call it, I have twin, I call it a twin, that's one interpolation between 2 points. And then I have a twin chain, which is a list of this. The twin itself it's a linear interpolation between 2 values, or actually a bunch of values. It can be up to 4, for example, for a rectangle or a color. But you can also have easing applied to every one of these values, or actually I think they are applied as a whole to all of those values. I don't remember, exact details can be changed. So you can have these S curves, you can have fading in logarithmic exponential curves, you can have bouncing. I think it's 40 or 50 different remapping functionality from 0 to 1 to some other values. You can also assign to every segment. That's why it seems like it's bouncing first, boom, then it goes slowly, then it's accelerating upwards afterwards. Because upwards is this kind of curve, but down is this bounce. And I can change all of that. And so that's a nice thing. Will be much more developed, of course. This is just to get the functionality in place. And is it final? Oh, it's a final visible thing. There's a bunch more. No, there's one other thing. I also have this I again, here's me, and habits, sorry. Low pass, for that low pass, I see this button here, had this bam, you see, then everything else goes dark, and then only this is not dark. What is happening is actually I split the GUI part in 2 parts, kind of, so in 2 layers. First layer is the usual one you see here, the normal, which was there before. You have this root widget, which contains all the other widgets. But now additionally I also have an overlay widget on top of the root, which is usually set to fully transparent and not active, which means it doesn't react to any events. So it is as if it doesn't exist at all. But you can append other widgets to it, just like the root widget, like in the first layer. So what's happening is that when I click this, I set this overlay to a black color, but almost like maybe 50% transparent. And what's happening is that it bang darkens everything, because it's laid on top of everything. And when, of course, when I change something and I send a message to redraw, this will be redrawn on top and it will darken everything. But the menu itself, this is a pop-up menu, is is it assigned or appended to the overlay widget. so it will be drawn after the overlay widget. So it will won't be affected with this darkening and everything. So it's just actually just a setting a color, and the widget hierarchy again, how it's set up, that makes this possible. We could have a bunch of different colors for different widgets, because the widgets themselves, when they are kind of calling for this darkening to happen, they actually send a color only. I can have different color for different widgets. It could be, and this is a bit too much, and gives maybe not the best thing to do for menus, but just for testing. Maybe it could be for pop-up windows, for info boxes and kind of stuff, for example. But just having it there is nice, because nothing is happening as I click here. But that is not the darkening or damping stuff. That is the modal stuff which is going on additional to this. So all these different functionalities are very separate, but I can use them together or single and in different versions to have different behavior. That, and then it's the final thing, is I have to press my keyboard controller a little bit to turn on. No, what the F? Let me see. These are wrong button. Now I set it to, if I now see, for example, you see, for example, this widget here. If I selected the track that the button is on, the plugin is on, it's on the second track here. If I just select it, bang, you see those a few of these colored stuff, colored triangles here, and also here, popping up. And you see if I change that, it goes on and off. They are only there when I have selected the track this plugin is on. This indicates that these widgets here, or actually controls, which the widgets are controlling, are connected, or I mean remote controlled. And the remote control is an extension again. This sets up in this page of preset pages, plugin pages, and there's different ones, project pages, controller stuff. But the plugin pages here, that's a remote controls extension. I can set up a page with up to 8 controls and define which parameter is being controlled by each of them. And these are then automatically connected to the widgets. And the widgets are being told about it, and then they can draw its colors. So the same color as in the top left corner here, I also draw them on the widgets themselves, because I've been told that this is controlled by the this and that remote control. These colors here are called param indication extension. That's the thing doing this, and remote controls for actually setting it up, the remote controls here. There's a third thing involved in all this, in this mapping on this mapping stuff. Let me change the view a little bit. For example, here now, if for example, let's take this widget here. I can, for example, right click and add automation lane. This is very bit specific, but I think there's more or less the same thing in other hosts. This will have the same functionality. And you see when I added the automation lane, there's appeared this yellow, no, it's not yellow at all, it's gray circle here, and it also appeared on my GUI here. This is also a param indication. It indicates that this parameter has an automation lane, but there's no automation in it yet, because it's gray, as you can see. You can open it and see there's, as you see, this grayed out. There is no automation here. But if you insert 1 point, boom, you see it. What the F? Of course, I have it, and I'm in clip mode now, not in track mode. Now we go into track mode. You see that, oh, it turns blue. The same over everywhere. It's being controlled, which means this parameter is automated. So if I create a few more just for testing, for example, and I just play. Oh no, what is F is? Well, okay, I did. So now you see the automate is being automated. Oh no, yes, I added a few more just for testing. Like this, for example. Now it's jumping up and down, and it's because of this blue here. It has automation, and it's playing back its automation. If you now just grab it and tweak it, you see it turns green and it stops automating, which means you are overriding the automation. So you want it to you set it manually, but there's still automation going on, and it's indicated by this bright green button circle everywhere. And of course you can click this back to automation, bang, and it's turned back to blue, and it follows automation. So you can always see what state the widget is in. And finally you can press record and just start tweaking the number here, and you see it turns red. And you see here it's recording automation. So now when it turns red, it's recording automation. And when I turn off, it goes back to blue, because now it has, wow, what's happening? Oh, of course, I clicked on the wrong number. You see the automation going on. Oh no, it's again overridden, bang. So you see there, here too, I touched this, I clicked on it, not on purpose, so it did some recording, but anyway. So that's the indication thing, param indication. It indicates both the automated state of the parameter, the automation state, and the mapping state, which is nice. You have really, because what should I say? Here you see, I have on my controller, I have color coded my 8 buttons to the same color as Bitwig is using. So if I turn the button that is red, I know that there's a button, the control here, which has this red triangle, will change. For example, I can just tweak it here now, very simply. Same thing with this light green here, I can turn my green button up. And one even nicer is that this remote controls and parameter indication stuff is automatically set up even when you browse presets. So because in a preset there is info about what plugin this preset is for, and the plugin itself has info about all this remote mapping and stuff. So you can browse preset when you browse presets, the host instantiates a copy of the plugin, do all this mapping, and then wait until you accept it or go to the next plugin or in the preview list. But which means I can just start playing and even tweaking the sound while browsing presets, which is very, very nice. So if you set this first remote control page up sensible, you get the most natural 8 controls automatically while browsing. And if you are smart in your own preset, you can always set the same color, controls to control the same thing in all your presets. For example, you can have the yellow button always control the filter cutoff, for example. So that you could just go to the preset and try different filter settings without actually touching or more or less nothing, which is very, very nice. And that is club specific, but of course we wanted, of course, support for it here. That was mainly the new visual things. There's a bunch of things going on in the background to prepare for the next stage, which is bringing the wrappers back, and also to make sure the Windows version of the GUI, which is actually just a so-called renderer, which getting OpenGL up and running and be able to switch it on and off. The current make the what is it called? Current context. You can make the OpenGL context current or not, and viewports, virtual blanking, and I think that's it. The rest is done by Nanovig, which uses OpenGL on top of it. So I think that's the only thing needed to get the Windows back. Because it can already be compiled as a no GUI. Similar for Mac, I think the no GUI part can be compiled for Mac with Clang at the moment, if what I'm hearing is correct. And the same thing there, we need a GUI part, which consists of 2 main parts. We have in Mac there's a little bit more work, because we need a Windows system, which is probably Coco. Is that the name? Coco. That's the name they're using in the same thing as the lowest level windowing interface. So we can have a window and that's it. Then we need a paint renderer, to initialize and get started with OpenGL. But OpenGL is not the thing to use on Mac. That there's Metal, so maybe there should be similar Metal thing there. Instead of the renderer, and the painter NanoVG or uses OpenGL specifically, but I have seen a metal version of NanoVG floating around, so maybe we could do something with this instead, which means the painter would be the same thing, which only the renderer, which is a kind of layer between the window and the painter stuff, needs to be updated. And when we get that up and running, we have Windows, Linux, Mac with a full plugin, full GUI. And then the last thing after that one is the voice processor. This is a synthesizer thing. And this is more or less finished already, but I have to massage it a bit to fit it into the new processor stuff. Sorry. And that's the final thing I want to add, but that's next after that is resizable widgets. So I can just, similar to this, but they are controlling themselves kind of. So I can, for example, this group box here, can just grab the bottom edge and drag it down to make more space, or even move it out. For example, I could take this one and drag it to somewhere else, change the order of things, and maybe I want a smaller version or whatnot. So that's it. I think that's enough for now. Be back soon, I guess. Bye. Start, stop.